Charles. Great questions. Thank you. So first of all, we have experience with the use of ADCs in patients with brain metastasis and leptomeningeal disease, but leptomeningeal disease to a lesser degree. So it all started years ago with trastuzumab emtansine, the second generation HER2-directed ADC, where we found some activity in patients with brain metastasis. And now you know, of course, that brain metastases are of specific concern in patients with HER2-positive breast cancer, because up to 40% of patients with metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer will eventually develop brain metastasis. So what we have seen later on is that trastuzumab deruxtecan, so the third generation ADC with the cleavable linker, the bystander effect, and the potent payload has massive impact on active brain metastasis, so newly diagnosed or brain mets progressing after prior local therapy. We've seen that in several smaller phase 2 trials like Deborah from Portugal, Spain, TUXEDO-3 from our own group, and also more recently the Destiny Breast 12 trial. Now, the two basic ideas were from there to look into treatment options in patients who have progressed after prior T-DXd with their brain metastasis, and then of course to extend this concept of treating brain metastasis with active disease beyond the HER2 positive subset. And the reason why we did decide to go for patritumab deruxtecan HER3-DXd, so a HER3 targeting ADC with the same payload and the same linker technology as trastuzumab deruxtecan, that was basically because HER3 is known to be a resistance mechanism to HER2 targeted treatment in HER2 positive breast cancer, and we have seen in phase 2 trials activity of HER3-DXd irrespective of the breast cancer subtype and irrespective of HER3 expression. And then on the other hand side, of course, we have seen both in lung cancer and in breast cancer that within brain metastasis, the expression of HER3 is upregulated compared to extracranial disease. Question is that important? That we don't know at the moment. But this, of course, was the rationale here. And then leptomeningeal disease, this is the worst complication of all you can imagine in solid malignancies. These patients have a very poor outcome, very limited treatment options, very poor prognosis, and therefore we tried to develop such a concept of systemic treatment also for these patients. I think they are significant. On the first glance, the response rates in both the breast and the lung cancer cohort doesn't look so impressive. I mean, once again, Destiny Breast 12, when we target HER2 with T-DXd, we have seen response rates of 70 to 80%. It's much lower here. It's in the range of 25 in the breast cancer cohort and 30% in the lung cancer cohort. But still, please remember there are two differences. One is this is a much more heavily pretreated population. These patients have usually exhausted all the standard treatment options. And then we are not targeting the driver of the disease. In HER2-positive breast cancer, when we use T-DXd, we are targeting the driver. So this gives an extra boost to the activity. This is not the case here. But it's definitely interesting data in the way that we generate a potential novel treatment options in a subset of patients where we are running out of rationale treatment. What about leptomeningeal disease? Well, again, this is a worst complication of solid malignancies. These patients have a very, very poor prognosis and the overall survival at 3 months in excess of 50%. I think these are phenomenal data. And in addition, what these data show us, it's possible to recruit LMD trials. That was long discussed and long doubted that this is possible at all. So this kind of opens the path for future trials and for future clinical development and progress in this subset of patients. Well, yes, in a population of patients with metastatic disease, quality of life is all important, and especially in a patient population that is heavily pretreated, where median overall survival is expected to be relatively short. This also relates to toxicity, and from a toxicity perspective, patritumab deruxtecan did look good here. So overall, the toxicity profile I would say is favorable. We know, of course, about the specific toxicity of deruxtecan-based ADCs. We have long experience with trastuzumab deruxtecan, also been using datopotamab deruxtecan in other clinical trials, such as TUXEDO-2. And I must say it looks favorable. So no major issues with fatigue. And of course, the management of nausea, this is something we have learned meanwhile. And of course, we've been using a triple prophylaxis in these patients. So from a toxicity perspective, this was clearly acceptable. From a quality of life perspective, it was really reassuring to see that over the treatment period, we haven't seen any major drop in quality of life. Quality of life was maintained over the treatment period. And in addition, neurocognitive function was also maintained. And this is really important because these patients, if you go for whole brain radiotherapy, they will see an early drop in the quality of life and have late neurocognitive decline. And this was clearly not the case here. Well, I think in terms of future trial designs, it shows that it's possible to do trials in patients with leptomeningeal disease. So we really hope that we are opening the path up here to a novel strategy, to new trial designs for these patients, where up until now systemic treatment is not established. We are also looking very much into opportunities to improve the outcome of patients who progressed on T-DXd with HER2-positive metastatic breast cancer. So we need novel treatment options here. And I think these initial data we have shown here, these are very, very encouraging, and would be great to see a future development of patritumab deruxtecan in patients who progress on prior T-DXd with metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer. And finally, I think it shows that ADCs have, in general, considerable clinically relevant activity in patients with brain metastases. And we should try to look further into this, both with HER3-DXd, but more general with other novel treatment options as well.